Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spilled. As always, we are your hosts, Kendall
and Delaney,
and we are bringing you history's hottest gossip every other Tuesday. Guys, every time I sing on this damn podcast, I have to go edit it, which means I have to listen to it like 400 times. And every single time I'm like, Kendall, stop doing that. Delaney has the talents. Kendall does not have the talents.
Hey.
Now, I need everyone to go grab their air tags, grab their Coachtopia loop quilted backpack, go to the airport, use your mom's flight credit gift card to go book a flight. That's right. Keep an eye on your bags, folks, because we're going to Paris.
Woo!
And by Paris, I actually mean like kind of slightly outside city center. But Delaney, what are we talking about today?
Kendall, today the wait is finally over. I've been dying to do an episode on this forever. Bitch, we're going to Versailles.
Ah, oui.
We're going to Versailles, baby. Today, we're going to be diving deep, guys, per usual, into the culture, the scandal, the drama that happened within the court and palace of Versailles. We're going to give you guys a little background into why Versailles was the way it was and is the way it is today, the king that it all revolved around, and just the juicy gossip. So, per usual, guys, grab your snuff, grab your tea, grab your little puppy, and take your pretty little booty seat onto a throne and get ready for today's episode.
Delaney, do you know what I'm going to ask you?
I think I do. I think I might have a clue.
No, this is actually a test. Like, what's...
Well, let me guess.
What is
Context?
It?
Context.
Mm-hmm. Yes, correct. How do you say correct in French?
Oui. I don't know.
Accurate?
Correct. Well, okay, let's dive into the context then, since you asked so nicely. If we're talking Britain and Ireland, I want you guys to think English civil wars. Remember, we're around 1660, around 1600s, late 1600s. If we're talking Russia, Peter the Great, guys, if you haven't seen The Great, go watch it now. It's an amazing show. You'll remember his name after that. If we're all the way in Africa, we're talking Atlantic slave trade times, guys. This is when it heavily surges. We have the Americas. Our English colonies are growing. We have Bacon's Rebellion, and our favorite, a little precursor to our next episode, the Salem witch trials, guys.
Spoiler alert.
Eek. This is also around the time we're having a high surge in piracy, our Caribbean sugar exports, colonial fronts, European wars. This is a tumultuous time, guys. This is not an easy breezy time in history, as honestly, it never is. Now let's get to France. So let's just backtrack a little bit. Let's get the story of the palace prior to the court moving there. Now, the infamous Louis XIII used Versailles as a hunting lodge in about the 1620s. By the 1630s, he added extensions and created this sort of private retreat for himself. Soon after, Louis XIV visits Versailles. He loves it. He's like, wait, this shouldn't just be a hunting lodge. Like, I love the location. I love the gardens. Hell, I want to make this even bigger. So on May 6, 1682, he picks up not just his bags, y'all, the entire court, the entire royal court, and moves them over to Versailles. Now, this was no little palace, guys. This wasn't like they were getting, like, moved into a castle that they were going to be, like, confided to. No, Versailles was an entire miniature city. And at the point of Louis moving the entire court there, it was about 12,355 acres.
You guys, for reference, that is over 9,300 football fields. That is over 9,300 dancing performances that I would have to perform at halftime at football games back in high school.
Damn.
The glory days.
I mean, honestly, makes sense. Like, Versailles was this, like, stage of performance, and especially for Louis XIV, because, y'all, he's a character. We have Louis XIV. Once we get to Louis XV, he moves the court back to Paris. He comes back to Versailles to continue working. He added some private spaces, but he didn't live there full time. He didn't like see the magic that Louis XIV had seen in that palace. Louis XVI marries Marie Antoinette at Versailles, And they both spend quite a lot of time there. It was one of their favorite palaces. But again, they still didn't have the whole court there. They still didn't have the same culture. Now, coming to somewhat of what we can say is like the tail end of Versailles history, being a royal palace, comes obviously during the French Revolution. As we know, the people did not like the monarchy, and hell, they did not like a palace associated with the monarchy. However, what the French did is they were able to move the furniture, a lot of valuable artifacts into Versailles, and kind of used this as a way to protect them and keep them safe. And this is why Versailles became a storage place and then became a museum. So the reason that we have it as a museum today and why it's not still a royal palace isn't just because the monarchy crumbled. It's because they had to use that as a mode of storage during the revolution, keep everything safe. And so, in short, the palace did her job throughout the generations. Now, as you may or may not know, it's pretty impossible for us to talk about the culture of Versailles without talking about Louis XIV.
So like any good talking stage or situationship, let's psychoanalyze this bitch. As I'm sure all of you guys know at home, we gotta start with their childhood. We got mommy issues. Do we have daddy issues? What's going on?
We got it all. Okay, so going down to his childhood, his mother, Anne of Austria, great mom, might I add. Honestly, she protected her sons during this intense time of political unrest known as the Fronde. Fronde. Yeah, no, I'm not going to get that one. Now, the Fronde, was a series of French civil conflicts against the growing royal power of Louis XIV, essentially. Now, his mother Anne, she ruled as his regent. He was brought up to the throne at age 5. So this was really his mother in power at this time. But still, nonetheless, people were coming for his power, and they were coming pretty quick.
Delaney, what's a regent?
Kendall, I love when you ask me questions. A regent essentially is somebody who rules in place of the actual monarch. Typically, it's because they're too young. So a lot of points in history, we have people ascending to the throne at 6 months old. Obviously, they're not of sane mind to be able to make political and social and civil decisions. So a regent will be in their place. Now, this isn't always apparent. If we're talking Rome, typically the regent is the one just trying to get some power. And so they're the one saying, they will be regent over their 18-month-old cousin. In reality, they just wanted that power, and that cousin is probably going to be murdered before they reach the age of ruling.
Okay, thank you. And also, it kind of feels like we could do a lot of episodes on that tea.
That's a good idea. But essentially, there was a whole kind of fear of what we know would eventually happen in France, of kind of an overthrow of the monarchy. And so what happened is they kind of began to build this absolute monarchy. And the idea here was that they were able to keep the nobles busy enough that they wouldn't go and plot against them. And we really see that happening in Versailles. I mean, once you know that, it kind of explains everything that has to do with Louis XIV's behavior and the culture he began to build at Versailles. To put it into simple terms, it was all a distraction.
I mean, I am willing to be distracted by entertainment, food, and alcohol just about any day of the week. All you need to do is really ask. It's better than TikTok.
Now, another little implication of this whole fronde was that Louis and his brother Philippe were, again, like we said, increasingly skeptical and nervous and insecure of somebody coming for their power. And their mother really, really instilled it in them that those boys had to stay together. Together they were stronger. So in order to keep this peace with his brother Philippe, and let me just add, I think more siblings should do this, Louis gave the Chevalier de Lorraine, which was a sort of pension and an appearance of friendship. And what this essentially meant is he was just appeasing Philippe. He was paying him. He was paying him with gifts. He was showering him with everything that this man could have ever wanted to make sure not only his brother wouldn't overthrow him, but that they remained, in good terms.
Ashby, we're looking at you.
Gimme. But to go a little bit deeper into kind of Louis's inner workings and his insecurities, like I said, not only was he insecure about people trying to raise a coup and take over his throne, he was just kind of point blank socially insecure. I mean, we can tell from historical writings, his need of control of everybody, that was one part. But he also wanted to completely control what everybody thought of him, what they said about him, how they looked at him, what his image was. And it almost got to a point of dude, take a breath. You're all good. It doesn't matter what people think of you. But of course, if you're the king of France, it might have an impact on how people are viewing you as their monarch. So it wasn't to say he was crazy for that, but he definitely took it to a crazy level.
Now, I know we're censoring things now, so I don't want to get too crazy with it, but Loki sounds like a certain world political leader we have here on this side of the ocean.
You just watch, we just disappear. You say the word. The mics disappear from our hands, our mouths disappear from our faces. First Amendment, who is she?
FBI. How'd you get in there?
Gotta be careful, guys. Don't want to pull Jimmy Kimmel, you know? Now, to get back to it and to, again, really kind of like hammer this into your head so you really start to understand how kind of like a little bit cuckoo, okay? A little cuckoo crazy Louis XIV was. I love that he did this. He had a credit system. It was credit politique. And essentially this was like the kind of confidence or favor that you had with the king, and you would use this to like influence powerful people. So essentially it was like a mechanism of control. Basically, if you had high credit with the king, you had higher influence over people, and therefore, you know, you were just like a higher up noble. So it was like a different social structure than what we think of at that time. He basically had a modern credit system, but just socially.
Wait a minute, was this like written down?
We don't really have evidence it was written down. Knowing Louis XIV, I know that man kept a little notebook, okay? Because we do know he kept track of absences. We do know he kept track of literally everything. So I honestly wouldn't say he didn't keep track of it, but the whole idea of credit was more so like your reputation and your trust. So the more you showed up, the higher your credit went. The more that like you were there and you were an upstanding member of the court, higher credit went. If somebody told you a secret and you told it to the king, the higher your credit went. You kind of see what I'm saying? It's like
those classes that don't take attendance but like grade you on participation. Except they did take attendance.
They did. But it was like somewhat of like a point system, somewhat from the evidence that we had. So to keep your points like really high, you had to like live near the king in the king's apartments. You had to follow the rules. So you were completing his favors. You were at his rituals. You were like a close noble. The higher your credit scores were gonna be. Like this was the French equivalent to like a credit score. You pay it on time, as in you showed up to the king, you gave him all the information you knew, you washed his feet, you said, "Oh, you look beautiful, monsieur." You were good, bro. High credit.
Oh, I wish it was that easy. Can you imagine just calling up like Equifax being like, "And you look so good today." Like, no, seriously, that is like in your color palette. Girl, autumn queen, pop off. If that is what would raise my credit score, send me their number.
Girl, we wish.
You know what I like about that model too is like I know too many dudes that aren't big words of affirmation fellas, and I would love them to have bad credit.
Me too, girl. Me too. Clock it.
Everyone should operate their relationships on this, by the way. Transactional as fuck. Yeah, tally. Keep track of everything, guys. Keep notes. I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
I'm joking. Okay, so now that we've done our favorite part, aka psychoanalyzing the hell out of another man, we've kind of explained it, like why the culture was the way it was. But I want to paint the picture for you guys. I want you guys to, like, for the first time in your life, feel like you're in Versailles. Feel like you are one of the members of the court watching the glorious Sun King pass by you. Let's go into the etiquette. Let's do it. What were your rules? What were the regulations? What were you supposed to do? What could you not do? And let's remember, this was all dictated by the king. These rules were all made by the king. If you broke them, au revoir. Okay, so we've set the foundation. Everybody wants to be a royal. But let's see if you have what it takes. I'm going to ask you guys a series of questions, and you're going to have to tell me whether you think that these were rules that took place in the Palace of Versailles during the reign of Louis XIV, or if these were rules in reality TV. I want you guys, the listeners, to play along too, but we're going to see how well Kendall's going to do with this test.
I genuinely don't know any of these yet, guys. And
yeah, we made sure she didn't look at any of them.
You guys comment below how you do, what your score is, because hopefully it'll make me feel better.
Okay, we're going to start off kind of easy. And I feel like some people might know this, some people may not. Kendall, I'm praying you didn't read this in the notes. Number 1, No knocking on doors. You must scratch with one fingernail. Was this A, the court of Versailles, or B, the bachelor mansion rule?
Okay, well, I've seen Bachelor, so I feel like it has to be Versailles, but like, what?
Correct.
What was that all about?
It was just a weird kind of etiquette thing. It was like apparently very rude to knock on somebody's door. Honestly, it kind of makes sense. It's quite disruptive. And my favorite part about this is if you look through a lot of like French art, French culture, you'll typically see one long pinky nail. And there was a big misconception for quite some time that that long pinky nail was used to do snuff, you know? Instead, no, they would grow out one of their nails. So it was long enough for them to scratch on a door.
Ew, I don't even think my pinkies are that strong.
Right? Like, it's weird. Or it wasn't always the pinky, but typically it was. All right, number 2. You were not allowed to do drugs of any sort unless somebody, let's just say somewhat superior to you, did it first. Was this A, the Palace of Versailles, or B, America's Next Top Model?
Oh, I feel like that show has a rigid hierarchy. Tyra?
Is this you?
We're going to go ANTM.
Wrongo. It was Versailles. Now,
What drugs?
snuff.
Oh, what's snuff?
Snuff, again, another misconception. A lot of people tend to think that snuff was just slang for cocaine. Wrongo. In France, at this point in time, snuff was essentially like a flavored, powdered kind of tobacco that you would sniff through your nose. So same kind of method of mode of transport. However, not the same kind of drug, but it did give you the same kind of like woof buzz.
Interesting. Okay, I'm 1-1.
All right, next one up. We're talking about beds. You were not allowed to sleep in a bed with somebody that you were not coupled up with. You weren't a couple with. You weren't
It's
all
Love Island.
smoochy with.
It's Love Island. You can't trick me on this. You can't trick me on this. I have watched probably 11 total seasons. No, maybe more. Do you know that's like 600 episodes?
Was it because I said coupled? Was it coupled?
Yes.
Is that what gave it away?
Just anything. So sorry. For those playing at home, I'm sorry she didn't even get through the question. Don't even try me. Don't try me on Love Island.
Sorry. All right, we'll do another one then. Next up. All right, for our next one, you were not allowed to wait outside, like the kind of hallway outside somebody's room. Okay, that's the rule. Was that A, Versailles, or B, the Jersey Shore house?
I've never seen Jersey Shore.
You couldn't sit out there and like lurk and like hear things and like, you know, snoop around.
I feel like that. Versailles.
'Twas Versailles.
Oh, why?
It was just considered improper. It was considered like an invasion of privacy. The antechamber was essentially kind of like the entrance. It was like a waiting room to somebody's room. But I want to add, like, Versailles wasn't made up of rooms. It was made up of apartments. So that's kind of the idea. You were like just waiting around outside somebody's, basically outside their front door. So it was considered pretty improper, especially if they were royal.
Can you explain the apartment thing a little bit?
Yeah. So the apartments in Versailles were, I mean, like kind of typical to what you would think of like kind of a condo today, or almost like a townhome type of thing without the multi-layers. Essentially, your apartments were like, these people lived here with their families and with their like huge networks of people. So it was essentially an apartment. It was like a studio, what we would think of like a studio. Some were bigger than others.
Almost kind of like the dorms that have suites, right? Like it's like a big building
Yes.
and there's hallways, but then you go in a door and then there's like the living space and some people have kitchens and then there's like bedrooms and stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I feel like I did really well. I think I only got one wrong. Everyone comment down below. Did you get them all right?
Are you waiting for a response?
From you.
Yeah, let us know your scores down below because I'm very curious to see if I could stump you or not. But there's still a lot more etiquette things that we didn't get through in that game, so let's get into those now. Now, if you were to sneeze at the royal court of Versailles, you had to uncover your nose, bow extremely deeply, and make your wishes known internally, not out loud. So the excuse me, improper, bitch.
Why?
No clue. We really don't have an origin for that one. More so, this was just like a lot of these like weird rules can almost be deemed down to like Louis trying to gain more control somewhat of his people and of like every action they did.
How do you think they knew if they were making their wishes known internally?
I don't even know. Like maybe like old day manifestation.
You actually haven't had a wish come true in a while, and it makes me think that like when you sneeze, you're not taking it seriously.
Right? They're like, what's going on? In the Palace of Versailles, that was customary. Okay, so if you're sitting at the same table and you stand up for grace, you're only allowed to cover your head back up. Remember, they wear those like really fun, flamboyant hats, headpieces. You were only allowed to cover your head after the higher ranked people. So I would have loved to seen that. I feel like it would be like a little like trickling domino down the line. It was like, okay, they all stand for grace, they take their hats off, and then it's like one by one, they start to go on by rank.
It's like the wave.
Yes. Now, let's say you're like no longer sitting at the table, you're sitting at a desk and you're writing a note to somebody. You must, monsieur, you must write using large paper. Do not write using a small piece of paper. How dare you?
What?
And you must leave ample space before the body of the letter. As for people to take notes, more so for the king to say traitor on top and put that into his massive pile of mail that he accumulated through his spy network.
Oh my gosh. The formatting. I feel like I'm back in high school.
And honestly, the last one, and this one sort of makes sense to me, but it was a little more like heavily regulated within the palace. And I want you guys to remember, like, all of this was happening within the palace. Like, you didn't really leave the palace, okay? So when it came to greeting visitors, let's say somebody is waiting in your antechamber, okay? They're waiting right outside of your front door. If you're greeting a visitor or they're coming into your home, you must, as a man, be wearing a cloak or a sword. You must be able to defend yourself, monsieur, and you must cover up.
By the way, if you show up to my door for a date, you must be wearing a cloak and a sword as well. How else am I going to know you can defend me?
Yeah, put that in the hinge questions. Like, do you have your cloak and sword? Yes or no?
Those rules are also bizarre, and you could tell that a lot of them are just like you said, those really kind of shallow power grabs. Wait, D, what stupid rule? If everyone had to do everything you said, Simon says, what would your rule be?
Listen to all my tangents.
We already do that. Yes. So subscribe, follow the pod.
New rule.
New rule, follow the podcast.
You must.
My rule would be, if I don't like your outfit, get out. If I don't respect your outfit, if you didn't put a fit on, you don't put effort into how you appear in front of me at this court, you're done. By the way, that's going to be me at my wedding too. Everyone needs to show up to my wedding looking the best they've ever looked. Outdo the bride. So what happened if you broke these rules? Does your credit score go down?
Pretty much, in short. Like, it was either I mean, guys, keep in mind, this is like a very intense social scene, like a very intense social network. And so all of these people around, it was like somebody knocks on a door, everyone's like, the fuck is she doing? And it wasn't going to be long before you were probably removed from the court. Like, you didn't belong there, you know? Like, a lot of these things were to somewhat separate the nobles from a peasant class. And that
makes total sense, because it reminds me of anytime you hear, like, see movies or whatever about high society people, they have this weird little language or these weird little customs, and it's literally just to make people feel like shit that like didn't know or like didn't grow up like that. It's like all this code signaling.
Yeah, it was like this whole kind of like culture of exclusivity, and their whole like, we only know these rules. And like, for example, like they walk past peasants who sneeze and they're like, oh, bless me, and everyone's like, that is so weird, they didn't bless themselves internally.
Yeah. Have you ever considered blessing yourself?
Weird. Yeah, like that was kind of the thing. So if you broke these rules, it was just honestly like just embarrassing. Like that was like, you just clearly didn't know the social standards there. And yeah, you would probably pretty quickly fall out of favor with the king. And we should like probably begin to start noting the fact, and I brought it up a few times, but Louis XIV had honestly, in my opinion, one of the most impressive spy networks within the court of Versailles, which was huge, guys. This was around 3,000 to 10,000 people. I know that's a big jump, but the numbers change as his favors do, So people were coming and going. And many of these people, and not just the people within the court of Versailles, I'm talking all of the help, all of the servants, the maids, the footmen, the bellboys, all of these titles I can't remember because they're all in French. They were all included in the spy network as well. So every letter that you went to post to leave the palace, oh, bitch, you better bet that was going to be on the king's table in the morning. Let's just say you get a little too drunk, but the king's gone to bed. I mean, it's fine. You get a little too drunk, you do something a little too crazy. That will be his morning gossip. That will be what entertains him throughout the day because, bitch, he will find out and he will know. That is what made the culture of Versailles so structured.
I'm wondering if this bled into any sort of paranoia or secret layers of codes or whatever among the elite that knew that they were being so heavily kind of surveilled.
Yeah, 100%. And that was almost the point. It was no secret the king found out everything because obviously they saw over time. He found out everything. So that definitely was an aspect to it, but it was also everyone was always trying to be in favor of the king. They were trying to be closest to the king. And if that meant spying on your neighbor to go tell the king what they said about him or whatever to get them out of his favor, then that's what it meant. I mean, it was extremely competitive, and it was, quite honestly, it was every family name for themselves. So yeah, there was definitely just a continuous kind of backstabbing culture within the court. It was not people supporting people, okay? It was cutthroat. It was, okay, I see you're the closest to the king. I'm going to watch you, or I might just honestly create a fake letter about you, or I might just do this so that way the king absolutely hates you because it didn't take much for him to be skeptical of people and remove them from the court. So, wow. Yeah, there was it was hard to build the trust with the king, and it was hard to keep that trust if you had people at your back. Okay, so now that we've started to kind of paint some of the weird tendencies and rules you had to follow in your day-to-day life in Versailles, we actually have an account from Madame Palatine. Ooh. Madame Palatine writes a letter to her Aunt Sophie in 1676, and she's pretty detailed, y'all. And she goes into the D-I-M-L. D-M-I-L?
Yeah. You got it. Whatever you say, gorgeous.
D-I-M-L. And she goes into the whole D-I-M-L being in Versailles.
Did she vlog it?
I wish.
Speaking of day in my lives, actually, if you guys want to pop over to our TikTok for some behind the scenes, Delaney and I both filmed day in our lives of recording day. So pop over. It's @SpilledHistory.
Well, let's get into hers first. So in the wise words of Madame Palatine, first, I went to Versailles. I wish I had a good French accent. Be our guest, put our service to the test. First, I went to Versailles, where we were kept busy all day. I can't do a French accent.
Wait, that was pretty good.
I know I have it. Wait, I have to do the same thing. I have to do my cue words, which are the Be My Guest song. First, we went to Versailles, where we were kept busy all day. We hunted from morning until 3 in the afternoon. I'm just getting British as we go.
You are getting British. It's okay. Keep going.
Can I just do this in a British accent? I'm going to do it in a British accent.
Yeah, everyone loves that.
First, I went to Versailles, where we were kept busy all day. We hunted from morning until 3 in the afternoon. Upon returning from the hunt, we changed clothes and went up to play, remaining there until 7 in the evening. Then, from there, we went to the theatre, which did not finish until about 10:30. After the theatre, we took supper. And after supper, it was time for the ball, which went on till about 3 in the morning. Only then did we and the king retire to bed. And that was a day in the life of Versailles, y'all.
I take everything I said back. I couldn't hang. I couldn't hang at all. 3 a.m., not for me. Mm-mm. Not here. Dinner, movie and then dinner? No, obviously I'm taking my popcorn in. I'm taking my food in there with me.
No, it's a movie, supper, then the ball.
Yeah, no. And I'm also I'm not eating a heavy meal before a ball. Are you kidding? I'm going to get bloated. So for so many reasons, I don't think this could work. Thank you for your offer, Louis.
Right, but no. Yeah, but we start to kind of get the idea when they were saying, it was the construction of this absolute monarchy and them really keeping the nobles busy. Like, they did not have some free time in that. It was an extremely regimented and an extremely scheduled day that was just, like, filled with entertainment. And amidst all of these activities was gossiping. It was like, oh, yeah, well, we're in the theater. We have some time.
It kind of reminds me of a cult, to be honest. Like, the cults keep people so busy and so it's so immersive, and any sort of backtalk or criticism is so frowned upon. And there's all these weird rules that, like, separate them from the outside world and the outside social classes and stuff. Like, this literally fits the definition of cults in a lot of ways. I read a book on it. It's called Cultish. It's kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah. And, like, I feel like that's kind of on point as to what Versailles was like. Just wait till you hear King Louis's daily routine, because trust me, this was not just his routine. It quite literally involved everybody, as you could anticipate.
Can you do this one in, like, a Central C accent?
Yeah, I can do that. Birmingham, yeah. They love my Birmingham accent, don't they, love? Me and the mandem, yeah, we practice it all day. Right, daily schedule. Day in the life, honestly. Day in the life, Louis XIV. But he's British. He's Birmingham edition. Yeah. Yeah, we picked up the king from France, took him to Birmingham, and we showed him what it's about, me and the mandem, yeah. 8:30 a.m. Valet wakes up the king. Doctors, surgeons come in. You know the deal, checking me out, making sure the goods are all there. Next, we have an entourage for my bathing, obviously. Then we have my getting up ceremony called the lever. The French are crazy like that, man. We get dressed. Then I have soup for breakfast. Yeah, every day, soup for breakfast. It's good for the gut, mate.
Skinny king.
At this time in my routine, yeah, we've got 100 mandem in the room. Only 100 allowed, though. 100 mandem in the room with bruv.
Just to clarify, not more than 100?
No, capped it there. Capped it at 100. Right. 10 a.m., bruvs. Procession through the state apartments. What this basically meant is I'm just walking through like I'm the fucking king of the palace, because I am. Right, I am. I'm walking past. I'm getting notes. I'm getting petitions. And most of all, bruv, I'm getting the gossip. This is the point in time when people can come up to me. People that are not close to me, though. Because the close to me ones, yeah, they're in the room with me. Those are the mandem, yeah. But the other people, they can come up and be like, yo, King Louis, she was talking shit about you last night. Oh, but yeah, you know, that's how the mandem figure things out these days. Walk through the hallways, get the chatter, get the notes, keep moving on to the Royal Chapel. 30-minute mass. Best part of my day, I require that the choir sings a new song daily. I never want to hear the same one, ever. Yeah. 11 a.m. after church, we run to councils. We have the states. Now, state ones, Mondays, alternating weeks, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Sundays. Honestly, mate, it gets quite confusing. We've got financial ones, co-science ones, dispatch ones, and the best part of it all, I have advisors for each one of them, bro. I don't gotta do shit, yeah.
Wait, so sorry, are these like meetings or classes?
The meetings, bruv, the councils. Essentially what this means is I sit at the head of the table. People just yap to me. Yeah, this what's going on, King. This what's going on. This is going on. I say, right. I trust you all to do your job, good sirs. Good day. And I exit the room, bruv. That's all I've got to worry about. At that point, bruv, I'm going on to talk to the ladies. Hey, that's my real job. Be social. Okay, that's what the king does. That's all I do. Yeah. 1 p.m. I eat lunch alone. Don't let anybody in that room. Yeah, that's supposed to be the rule. But, you know, Mandem and I, we love to break the rules. Yeah, so often enough, I'm the only regent to actually invite people into the room at this point in time and have lunch with all my friends. Yeah, I went against the customs on that one, but, you know. Yeah, we're rule breakers here in France. Yeah. Right, 2 p.m. I go for a walk. Yeah, either that or I ride. And I'm not talking about the birds, bro. You guys are filthy. No, I ride the horses, bro. I ride the horses around my garden. I choose the park and I choose the weapon I'm going to carry. Yeah, I choose those. That's about all I do, though. And then I do my little prancing around from about 6 to 7. Don't make me say it. 6, 7 p.m. My son oversees the indoor entertainment. Yeah, not me. Nah, too tired at that point, bruv. I sit back, relax, and watch him do his job. he looks over all this, entertainment, whatnot, keeping the nobles busy so they don't form a coup against me because they fucking hate me. At this point in time, I'm signing letters. I'm visiting Madame de Maintenon. Hey. Don't worry about that, though. I'm not going to explain that further. And I also love to study with the Secretary of State. Yeah, he taught me lots of things. Never utilized them, but I knew them.
Retweet. That's also what I say.
Yeah, around 10 p.m. though, bruv. While everybody else is going to sleep. Fuck that. I'm different. I'm the king. I'm going to have my dinner. My grand couvert. Or however the French say it. Yeah, it's a dinner with the royal family, dude. That's some serious shit. And that is the best part of my night. Because you know what happens right after that? I bet you've been wondering, Louis, where have the ladies been? Where have they been? Where's the Bunda hiding? Yeah. Bunda hides in the salon. And that's where I'm going, yeah. At this point, I eat my dinner. I'm full. I'm huge. And let's just say I'm filled to the brim. I love to enter the salon, greet all the ladies of my court, as great as they are. And let me also add, mate, I'm the bloody king. Oh, I have a husband. I'm a king of France, babes. Drop your drawers. Move on. At this point in time, I retire, though. I go back to bed, but only with the mandem. Yeah, I walk back with my mandem with me. My close men, okay? Close nobles. And if you try to go against me, mate, trust you'll be dealt with Birmingham style, hey.
Wow.
Yeah. 11:30 p.m, bro.
We're not done.
Yeah, no, we've got one more step in my daily routine, bro, and we can't miss it because it's the best one. 11:30, I have the opposite of the lever. I have the coucher. And you're probably saying, Louis, what the fuck is that, bro? Louis, what is that? Now, I will say, didn't invent it, okay? But the idea was, if we had people watching me wake up and go to bed, the whole bloody routine, mate. It's not just getting in and out of bed, dude. This is an entire, step by step. If people could watch me do this, yeah, they knew my hygiene was good. They knew I was in good health, yeah. And they could even see how fucking regal I was. I mean, I'm getting bathed with, 12 servants. Yeah, they're covering me in gold, And then, I'm able to get into bed and say, right, see you in the morning. Look at me and all my regalness, dude. It's the best part of my day. Yeah, it's truly the best part of my day. They all get to just watch me be a monarch, as they do all day. So, yeah, it's a day in the life.
Wow, I don't know if there is any other podcast that exists where you guys can get the first-hand account of Louis XIV day in the life told through the interpreted accent of Central C based in Birmingham.
Yeah, because we could go ban for ban.
Yeah, you know what? We actually did so much of this on the last episode, so I'm gonna cut you off. But what is also kind of funny to me is how we have come full circle now to observing everyone's morning and night routines step by step, timestamp by timestamp. There was basically this big period of history where we didn't have that as much, and now it's so pervasive. Now I'm watching the influencers that live a mile from me, and I know the apartments, and I use the same products, and I'm still addicted to watching their get ready with me's and get unready with me's.
Yeah, honestly, I think we can almost credit Louis with doing this because he really wanted everybody to watch his every move. And honestly, another aspect of Versailles that I just eat up is the fact that this man also controlled the fashion. Yeah, you have that right. He had rules for the fashion too. He was like, I want you to look the way I want you to look. Deal? Okay.
Period.
Now, your heels, for example, they had to be anywhere from 2 to 5 inches. Now, 5 inches, that's tall.
That's crazy.
Right? And they had to have buckles or ribbons, and red heels signified a very expensive, high status, and he only allowed certain nobles to wear these. So if you weren't of high enough status, you better not be walking around with no red bottoms. I'm going to tell you that much.
Okay, so I actually found some of this in my own Reddit research. When she says heels, she's actually talking about like the heel of the shoe. And kind of interesting, after the French Revolution, the symbolism of the red heel was actually kind of taken over by prostitutes as this like role play of aristocracy and whatnot. And so it was like, it like cheapened the overall look of it. It also, if you're thinking like I've heard red heels before, red soles, this was what influenced the infamous Christian Louboutins.
We know we love those red bottoms, hey. Now, another fun thing, this was like not 100% implemented by Louis XIV, but it was something that he was quite strict on within the palace. You had to sit by rank, and that meant like the furniture you sat on showed your ranking, which I think is like so hilarious. So that way, if you walked into a room, he knew exactly who was of what status. So if you were a king or a queen, okay, if you were regal, if you were monarchy, then you had armchairs. So you had like arms on your chairs, kind of like how we think of like a really regal kind of throne kind of thing. If you were a prince or a princess, you had an armless chair. So it was still kind of the throne type of thing, but no arms.
That's interesting because if you look at like a dining table, only the heads of the tables have armchairs. Interesting.
Yep, guys, everything stems from something. The dukes and duchesses, which is kind of where this hierarchy ends. So like if you were anything less than a duke or a duchess, then you got nothing. Right, because guys, they were on stools. The dukes and duchesses were on stools. So
oh my God.
Anything lower than that, you were quite low.
Can you imagine being on a stool in a corset? Oh my God.
Oh, and even more, he made sure that the fashion status needed whalebone corsets. Okay, this was huge, whalebone. That was not breathable. Okay, that was like whalebone, very strong. And these were like 3 to 6 piece dresses. So we know that they were like very ornate in all of the layers and everything. But this was a different level. And the best part is the courtesy for women, very different than the males, of course. They had to curtsy multiple times, like when seeing a noble. So this meant like, hello, your grace. Of course. Curtsy, all the damn curtsies in that damn whalebone corset.
Yeah, and it's like for reference, if you guys haven't like seen these like whalebone corsets, like if you think of your little like Urban Outfitters going out top with the corset, like boning is in a corset what's giving it its structure, and it's literally called boning because they used to use bones. So if you like the part that's keeping it its structure, that's kind of like going vertical up and down your torso and like giving it that shape to be able to then be like sucked in, that is whalebone. And then like, can you imagine there's zero give, and that was too small, right? Like they were sucking you in. So this breathable fabric, absolutely not.
No. And the even funnier thing is that like what was almost another show of status, as we've kind of said, like the people would really only select people would get to watch the king do his rising and his going to sleep ceremony. Now, again, nobles, like you were quite high rank and you were quite close to the king. Like just being noble in Versailles, okay, newsflash, everyone here is a noble, okay? So your status had to be like quite higher than that. And they would take, if they were really noble, they would take their visitors from their bedchambers. So this would be like, again, kind of a private thing. But even more so, parade beds as a status. So what this meant is that like their visitors would normally greet them while they sat in bed. So they'd be like, oh, enter. Oh, Monsieur, so nice to see you. Good morning. Like it was just kind of like an odd custom that they would be greeted in their bedchambers and not their apartments, right? Because you have your apartment and then you would have, depending on, again, how high your level was, how large your apartment was, and how much the king favored you, that was essentially the key to Versailles. I mean, you would get gifts, you would get a higher, a larger bedchamber, a bigger antechamber, etc. If the king liked you, he gave it to you.
Receiving company in bed is really the epitome of like a power trip. Like, I'm gonna make you come all the way to me.
Right? Like, and watch me as I sit comfortably in my bed and you're on a stool, if you're not a duchess. On that note, Another fact I find just honestly comical, but I mean, it makes sense. I mean, he was like the king, king of France. Up to 300 people, guys, 300 people would watch the royal meals. So remember, as we were doing that little routine at the end, we had the royal dinner, which was only the royal family having their dinner. And, the nobility and the rest of the court would kind of have this separate and outside of it. 300 people would watch this grand couvert. And the nobles would be on stools. God, they love their stools. Nobles would pop a squat on a stool. And there were like multiple accounts of Mozart and Voltaire being the ones to stand and observe this. Not playing music for once, no. Watching him eat his food with the royal family. Crazy.
Obviously, as you think, fast forward a couple kings to the French Revolution, which obviously had massive issues with the amount of spend and just gross waste and use of the French money and all that stuff with Versailles specifically. You can see how the extravagance and the I'm going to use a big word. It was very braggadocious. Watch us, society. Yeah, I know big words.
I don't know it.
It's exactly what it sounds like. But how that backfired, they really flew too close to the sun, I think.
He was the Sun King.
Why was he called the Sun King?
Essentially, in Roi Soleil, that was the French title. I still don't have the French accent down. He basically adopted the sun as his personal regal symbol. They all kind of have their symbol, their flower, their crest kind of thing. The sun was his personal symbol, and this was kind of in the attempt to represent his absolute rule and his divine right to power. So France revolved around him. The court revolved around him. That's not deep thinking. That was genuinely what he wanted to convey. Everything revolved around him.
When he rose, everyone rose. When he went to bed, everyone went to bed.
Yes. Wow. Quite literally, he was the Sun King. He was the sun, basically, to these people. Yeah. Now, I know that everyone's been dying for me to say it. I know, guys, I know. Because when you think Versailles, you're like, okay, we know they're having crazy parties, they're getting hammered, they're going to, theaters and whatever. And are they peeing in the hallway? Are they, let's be real. Are they doing their business in the hallway? Because everyone loves to chatter that they did at this Palace of Versailles. However, I hate to prove rumors wrong, but this whole narrative that they did use the restroom on the floor, in the hallways, behind curtains, it's just that, guys. It was gossip. And like we said, Versailles was cutthroat. People were trying to take each other down. And what made you seem more like a peasant than urinating in the hallway of the royal palace? Not a lot of things. It was pretty gross. It was gross to them back then. It really was. They weren't the best at hygiene. We know that. They were not great at hygiene. However, that's uncomfortable. And yeah, of course, I assume at some point in time, people were drunk. Maybe they did go behind a curtain. But for that whole narrative to be built, it was actually built mainly post-revolution. Okay, so this was in an attempt to make the nobles seem gross, to make them seem more peasant-like, and to be like, hey guys, Versailles wasn't actually this golden palace like they painted it to be. People were using the restroom in the hallways. Okay, they were disgusting. They were lifting their skirts. They were gross and they were drunk, and it was all gossip, y'all. And it did its damn job because people believe that one for sure.
Yeah, and kind of to Delaney's point, this was gossip, which meant the only reason it got written down was because it was a point of interest, and no one was bragging about it. So it was very much just oh my God, can you believe they did this or they did that? If it did happen and it was written down because they couldn't believe it had happened, or it was gross.
Yeah. And they did actually have some sort of bathroom system. Now, again, the world was still somewhat crafting and creating these whole latrine kind of systems. They did have public latrines in Versailles. Very little privacy, okay? But once we get to Louis XV, literally one later, He increased the bathrooms. He had pipes moved and installed. But we also had, for women, we had the Berladoy. Berladoy. We have the Berdeloy. I 100% butchered that. But that was essentially a chamber pot that was kind of easier to put up a skirt. So typically the ladies' maid would kind of help the women get it under the skirt, get it under all of the things that they had under there. So that way they were able to use the restroom. This was still an era of chamber pots, and that was not weird. That was totally normal. They had chamber pots in the hallways. So unless a guy couldn't aim, you know, it wasn't uncommon for men to be doing that in the chamber pots publicly. For women, it was typically more private, but they could just pop the chamber pot under the skirt and call it a day.
Fascinating. I kind of love that, like, our whole thing is gossip, but, like, we're not giving you the bullshit. We are gossiping about the gossip and telling you that the gossip is not, in fact, true.
All right. So we've taken you guys on crazy.
Nope. Delaney told me she had a rap prepared for us today, and I'll be damned if we don't hear this rap. This is the special treat for those of you that stay until the very end.
All right, I need a Damn, I'm on my Versailles shit. Oops, I shit the bed. Damn, I'm on my Louis XIV shit.
Wait,
take her head.
We have a lag. You should probably do your own beat.
Okay, fine. I only got some of these. Okay, sorry. Okay. Damn, I'm on my Versailles shit. Oops, I shit the bed. Damn, I'm on my Louis XIV shit. Take her head. Damn, I'm rolling hella deep. I feel like the king. Holla mirrors got me shiny. Every step a bling. Scratch on the door. No knock. That's court etiquette. Red heels clicking on the parquet. That's pre-kit. Grand lever. Grand coucher. Whole day a stage. Courtiers fighting for a stool. Not just the wage. Hey. Snuff box pass. Say less. I inhale the flex. Gossip girl like fountains. Who up next?
That was really good. That was really good. Should I try to freestyle?
Yeah, go for it. Ready? I'll drop you a beat.
Hold on. I'll pull up a trap beat. I'm more of a trap type of rapper.
Yeah, me too. I'm more like a trap
I've
galley.
like never freestyled in my life.
Maybe you'll get the genetics from me.
I don't think I can do this. I said certified Louis XIV. Froze in my bedroom. Make him kiss my feet. Make him lick my feet. Make him suck my feet. Yes. Monarchy. Stuff up the nose. I go first. No hose. Make the hose bend low. Sneeze. They say their quotes internally. A flow change. Yeah, you fucking with some monarchy. Yeah. Yeah.
A flow change.
Yeah. Scratch the door with your pinky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
damn.
That's definitely not going in.
That was really, I think that should go in because that was really good.
I'll say I don't think I have a good rap voice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Louis. Yeah. Louis. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Sun kick drip. Gold on me thick. Versailles lit. Candles like a brick. Yeah. Lever at 6. Couche, that's it. Credit with the king. Gotta hit that favor quick. Brr. Roy when I walk. Yeah, hush when I talk. Peer cut go, click, red heel stomp. Yeah, the whole court watches. Yeah, and I don't even flinch. Yeah, hall of mirrors bounce. In this bitch, yeah. Turn to a lodge. Turn to a lock on a map. Yeah, turn a rumor on the leash. Then I brought it to the pack. Yeah, if you're absent, I'm peeping. Yeah, the laps, where you at? Ceiling to the most. Yeah, if you ain't in orbit, then what? Bitch, you a ghost. Yeah, Sun King drip. Yeah, gold on me thick. Versailles lit. Yeah, candles like a brick. Yeah, we got the levy at 6. Yeah, the couche, that's it. Yeah, credit with the king. Gotta hit that favor real quick.
That was really good. I want to try one more time. Louis on the beat.
Louis on the beat. Oh my God, Louis.
Walk him in the house. Make it bounce. Hey, turn her over, man. Fuck her up. This is not related to history at all. Okay, we're gonna try again. Wait. I literally don't have anything to say.
I got you. Hold on.
No, I want to do it myself. Hey, all right, hold on. You're ChatGPTing this? Going to Paris in this bitch, Eiffel Tower, inch by inch. Can I take her to the hallway? I missed the beginning. Taking her to Paris, Eiffel Tower, inch by inch. Yeah, walk her to the house of mirrors. Tell her to make it quick. Eat it real quick. Eat it up in public. Yeah, you know how I do. I got 100 bitches watching Mozart with the crew, and I don't know what else to say, man.
Marseille, hey. Hey.
I said sneeze, bend low. Yeah, snuff, no snow. That was good.
That's snuff, not snow. Hey.
Right? That's what I was saying.
That was pretty good.
Okay. Well, we can stop. Let's end the episode.
Well, guys, with all that said, and all jokes aside, Versailles left an incredible history behind it. It created this new kind of culture that was somewhat unseen, and it was all to credit Louis XIV for him and his insecurities and his fears moving the entire court to Versailles. I honestly think was one of the best things he could have done, because hell did it solidify his legacy, as well as Versailles and the Versailles that we know today. Thank you guys for listening so much to today's episode. And of course, before we end, Kendall, what was your dinner party takeaway for this episode?
This episode had so many just like individual juicy facts. I can't wait to correct someone when they say that they were peeing in the hallways all the time in Versailles, but I feel like the one that really stuck out to me the most was the sneezing. I just thought that was so interesting that they had to bow really low and think good internal manifesting thoughts to themselves. That one I feel like stuck out to me. And honestly, maybe I'll take that up. I'll skip the bowing, but maybe every time I sneeze, I'll like think about my intentions like a yoga class.
I love that. Well, with that said, thank you guys again for listening to today's episode. We are so excited to hear from you guys in the comments and the suggestions. Remember, we do keep an account of all of the suggestions that you guys give, and we are excited to hear more.
And Spilled would be truly nothing without our awesome team, Rachel Stout, Jacob Regner, and Soraya Fofana.
And with that,
we will see you in 2 Tuesdays. Bye, everyone.